Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful. I am back in the studio after being away for a couple months. So for those of you who were wondering where I've been hiding, I'm back. I think I'll be back for the summer with maybe a couple little short trips, but should be here most of the summer working in the studio. So I'm hoping to get some videos out and enjoy creating again. So while I was away, I did try to do a video, and I'm set up currently in my away place in a garage, and the acoustics were horrible. So it's not really the best situation to be recording. We've purchased a home to get away from the winters here when they are harsh and just kind of have a change of scenery, and have been spending the last year kind of making it our own, and that's taken up some of my time. So I'm back now. I'm hoping to get a better schedule as far as being able to be creative in both locations and to be able to record videos. So it's getting there. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you what I did work on. I did have some creative time while I was there, and since I've been back. So I've kind of tried to put together what I had been working on, and I think I'm going to create a new playlist. So if you haven't been following my channel, you can click on my channel and you'll see that I organize in playlists. That way you can find what you're looking for. In most cases, I try to keep organized. I do a lot of different types of things, and so some people may be following me for slow stitching or for journal making or like the grungy stuff. And this new playlist is going to be more on gel printing and what I like to do with gel prints, to just come up with some different ideas of ways to use them. So today is going to be just kind of an introduction to this new playlist. I haven't created any videos yet for the new one, but some of the items I'm going to show you, I do have a couple of videos already on the subject, but I think I'm going to even redo those because I'll leave them on my channel. But as I work on something, even if it's an idea that I've done in the past, I try to learn new things about it, try maybe tweaking the materials that I use and trying something a little bit different. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today, my experiments. So it's really kind of just a fun introduction. So if you have been following along, you maybe recognize this type of thing. So I have been making gel prints, and then one thing that I like to do is just to make them easier to store, a little smaller. This is the batch that I did while I was away and I brought back with me, so I had just put them in this bag. I like to cut the white edges off, and that way they're easier to, it kind of brings the sizes more together. And it makes them smaller and just easier to store. So this was the batch that I did there. I was going to do a video. In fact, I may have recorded this and it just did not turn out very well. So, but I will maybe do some new videos on actually making gel prints if you haven't done them for collage papers and that kind of thing. So I like to take the white edges off, and then that leaves me all of these strips. And I've adjusted from originally doing them where I was really just taking off mostly white and leaving a tiny bit of the design just to kind of straighten it up, to intentionally leaving more of the actual painted paper so that I could create something with those scraps that was maybe more interesting. So some of them, like this one, you can see maybe had wider white spaces that I left. And then some of them, they're pretty tight, where I actually overlaid the strips over each other instead of putting them on a background. And so that left me really skinny white spaces. So when I go over and do a video about this, I'll explain all the different things I did, and ideas that I've had, and kind of the different papers I like to make up. These were some of my very early ones. Where I even have some stitching with the sewing machine and things on it. So what I do is I take those and I create these papers that I can then have in a pile and just work on doodling on them and embellishing them even more than the original gel print. So that gives me some really fun decorative papers to work with then. And then taking these and turning them into actually something else, either a piece of art or something useful, that kind of thing, using these that were really just the scraps, not even the main gel print. Okay, so I'll set those aside. So one obvious thing that I have done and with gel prints is just to use them to create journal covers. So these are just kind of, scraps, just kind of collaged together and creating some fun journal covers. So I will be making more journals, art journals that are just with the gel prints, creating artful covers. So that's one idea. And then a cute little thing that I saw, and I don't know if I can find the video. When I do a tutorial for this, I'm going to try to find the original one that I watched, because I got this idea from someone else. So I had taken the batch that I did in Utah, and they were thicker paper that I did my gel printing on, and then I even collaged those strips onto just cheap copy paper, but then it made it more of a cardstock thickness. And so I had cut all these squares, and I left the piece of artwork that I made there, but I'll show you some of the squares I had left. I made these all a consistent size, but you can see they're thicker. And to use to do some kind of grid artwork. And I did a couple of pieces that I'll maybe share when I go back there in this playlist, but I left them there. But I did a couple of pieces where I just used these squares in different directions and created some grid artwork. These are the ones left over. So I wanted to do something with these and some of the other scraps that I ended up with. So these were all created from those larger pieces of paper. Okay, so now I have a big stash of those. So I wanted to do something with them, and I thought this was really fun. It's just a little flip book, and you'll see it's double-sided, and the pages, as you turn them, it was just kind of a place for me to put these and make this cute little thing. And then I can actually, embellish these more, put a little saying or quote or something on those. But it was just kind of a place for me to put a little collection of these and create this little book. And if you see, I can actually even go the other way and go through and do the pages all this way, and use those to do other artwork if I want, or to journal on, that kind of thing. So I won't flip through this whole thing, but it ended up, you can lay it, it can be just kind of one whole thing here. I don't know if there's a name for this. I don't recall. It was just something I saw probably on Instagram. But you see, I have it all, like this grid, and then the flip side is all the blank side. So it was just kind of a fun little book to make. I added the ribbon, before I glued that last one down so that I could tie it all up. But that was just a fun little journal-ish thing to make. And then one thing that I do have a video on that I've shown before is some of the original doodly gel print scrap things that I did. I did them on rice paper, which makes them really nice to collage with, but also on something that's a shape. So I will do another video on how I made these. They're paper mache, and they're just great little vessels for all your pens and pencils and paintbrushes and that sort of thing. So these are a lot of fun. I do want to make more of these, because as I've been making them, I've kind of evolved in how I do them even. So there will be a video coming about that. But I do have one, like I said. I think it's not really detailed, but how I made those. And then just with some of the scraps also, I made these little ended up putting magnets on them, but these are little, you can buy little canvases. I've painted these, but I think do I have a white one sitting here? They come in different sizes, and this is one that hasn't been primed or anything. So you can find these little mini canvases, and I thought they would be fun to do just little mini pieces of art with. And so I ended up painting all of these, but I just had some scraps, and these aren't necessarily, let's see, these might all just be doodles and not necessarily from gel prints, but it's similar kind of thing because I do like to also do some watercolor background and then do doodling over that and cut those up as well. And you'll see kind of what I've done with those. So it's kind of a combo. There's some gel print things here and some doodling things here, but these are just the little scraps. And I've kind of been, just because I'm kind of new to the whole art thing, is to learn how to, you know, finish these off so that they're really have a nice professional finish, and you can just wipe them off and they're archival and all that sort of good stuff. So these are all just little magnets, but they end up being just these cute little individual pieces of art. And so it's you can use every little bit. So I just thought these were a lot of fun. So I want to do more of these too, just as a way to use up, you know, some of the little scraps. So I'm going to probably end up putting these types of things in my Etsy shop at some point. But, you know, I've got this little stack of magnets. And then kind of how this all started ending up with these little scraps was I wanted to make my own thank you cards. When I send anything out, I like to send a handwritten thank you card. And I have a batch that I did that have thanks or thank you on it. And I don't know if I've shown those before, but if you've purchased anything from me, you've received one. But I thought it would be fun to have some just blank cards. I can sell those in my Etsy shop too, or just use those. But they're like little individual pieces of art. And so you could, you know, take those and then frame them. And so I wanted to kind of show you maybe an idea also of how you could do that. But these are all just little blank note cards. And I started with some smaller ones. And I'll kind of just go through. If you follow my Instagram, I did a little video to music that's just showing some of these, but I've done more of them since that original one. But you can see I have cut, you know, a larger piece and then just layered little scraps onto those in just different kind of fun abstract ways. And those are just a lot of kind of very meditative to kind of go through everything. I have a bin now that has just full of these scraps to just kind of play and make even like little snippets. And some of them, like in this case, I wanted something kind of in between that maybe I didn't find anything I already liked. So I would just take some watercolor paper, add a little watercolor and doodle on that and create that in-between layer. So it's, you know, same with this. I just doodled on a piece of white, you know, to give me another little frame. So they're just a lot of fun. These I just sat for hours and hours and hours and put these together. And I really found that I enjoy this. Being kind of new to art and all of this, you kind of look for your style and where's your voice and that kind of thing. And I have been watching other people's videos to learn techniques and learn how to use the different materials and that kind of thing. And so I have some samples that I have done that you might recognize who I followed, because it's maybe kind of their vibe, not knowing what mine was going to be. And I think I don't know if this is it, you know, for everything, but I really do enjoy working with all the little small details and that kind of thing. I end up even finding little scenes that to me are, I don't know if you see it that way, but there might be an element in my doodling that jumps out to me that I want to include, and it just ends up becoming a story kind of, you know, this looks like a fence with a road, stairs maybe in a road, and the sun. And so I added some what looked like either trees or sailboats on water and a moon, you know. So you kind of just let that abstraction speak to you to create something that, you know, these could be trees off in the distance or, you know, a river here, that kind of thing. So it's really very fun and meditative to kind of come up with these little abstract designs. But I really enjoyed it. And again, giving it a nice, you know, finish. There are some techniques that I learned along the way that were helpful in creating all these layers and not smearing things as you go. This one, I went from all of these, which were those sheets that I had created, to also creating sheets that are just doodle sheets, just for fun in the evening. And so I also have cut those up and then layered sometimes gel prints. These are 2 gel prints, and some of those other scraps, and some of the watercolor design. So, and then each one of them on the back, I did put handmade 1 of 1, because they are all originals. These are not prints or anything. You can feel all the texture and see the layers. So I did do that. And then I actually carved the stamp out of, I kind of made my own little carved stamp that's kind of that, to me, a heart and soulful kind of thing. So kind of like a signature on it. So I did that. And then these are kind of in more pastels, you know, and again, these were all playing around with some watercolor and doodling on that, and then just cutting them up, and again, just making these blank cards. These are all a little larger. You see, I went and I had used all these up and went and got some that I thought were a little bit bigger, and I may do some. I'm trying to, as I learn the whole art thing, I'm a person that just likes the little minute details and the fineness of that, and I'm trying to train myself to scale up a little bit, and then to go further till I feel like I can do a larger canvas. So this was just my effort to kind of take it a step up and get a bigger card. So I think I'll go to maybe the next size up, and then just kind of keep working on it and try to get myself more comfortable with doing those layers. But it's just a lot of fun, and they're all, like I said, they're all one of a kind, unique. So fun cards. I need to figure out, you know, like what to charge for them. That's kind of the hard part for me. They are so time consuming and detail oriented and that kind of thing, but they're still a card, you know? So I don't know about that. You might have some ideas if you've made things like this, you know, maybe you have an idea for me. So that, and then making bookmarks. You know, I like to include bookmarks sometimes in my journals. So I've just kind of made some of those up as just a nice little thing to include. And then I also love collecting old things. And I had done, let's see, it's hanging on a wall. Let me go get it. This was a while back. I didn't do a video showing this process because I had never done one before. And I did decide, since then, I have thought of ways to do this intentionally without, this was just such a hodgepodge experiment, but I love collecting old things. And so this was a way to, has some gel print in it in the collage part of it, but it's just kind of a little mixed media art piece that I created this book shadow box because I didn't have any shadow boxes at the time. So I will do something like this intentionally as a tutorial at some point, but that was another idea. And then I did finally buy some shadow boxes that I could do some artwork in. And again, these I may end up doing some and putting them in my Etsy shop. But I've just taken a shadow box with the canvas, replacing what comes with, you know, where you tack things on, with a canvas, and then a piece of my handmade paper, and then a gel print, one of the stripy papers that I make, and then a very old rusty, sorry about the glare, but a very old rusty key. And then I also made some paper beads. I don't know if you can, I know this glare is making it hard to get it close to show you. So maybe if I do this. Some paper beads that I also made using some gel prints that I had printed onto book page, and then just some thread on there also to kind of break that up and attach it. So that's just another, using actual found objects and backing them with your gel prints, you know, as a background, to do kind of a found collection. So I want to do a bunch of those. I just ordered more and received yesterday some shadow boxes. So I want to do some kind of mixing the old with the more colorful abstract, and creating something. And then the final thing that I did, I also just framed some pieces. I don't want to bring those over because they have glass like this one and it's really hard to show. So I need to, maybe when I do some of those, put them in the frame without the glass so that I can show them to you that way. But this one, I wanted to try creating another frame. And let me see, I need to scan out of this one. And I saw a video of a gentleman and how he liked to make his own, paint his own frames with just raw wood frames. So I thought I would try it on one of these cradles. And I really, it's a time-consuming process, but it does make a really nice finish. You could do it any color. So I did that and then added a frame of my, just kind of like a mat, I guess, frame of the stripy papers. And I thought that would even be fun to, go to a thrift store and find some old frames, and just cover the frame instead of using the gel print as a mat. What you could do is, even just covering the whole frame with it and then putting your art inside. So in this case, I created the frame first, and it's many, many layers of finishing it to give it kind of a more even, smoother, almost like an encaustic thing. And did that so that it's really kind of part of the frame. And then added a canvas with my handmade paper, and then another panel of the stripy gel prints with the doodles, and then a heart from a gel print, and then the soulful little symbol. I'm calling it that. It's the little sun symbol of the watercolor with just my little pen work on that. So it's just another fun little, mixed media, I guess, collage-y kind of thing that's not under glass. It just has this, but you can just wipe it off. I need to kind of buff it out a little bit more. I finished it with a cold wax, so it needs to be buffed out. But I really like that. And so that I may create some of these sort of things if you think that that's kind of a fun piece of art, and put those in my Etsy shop too. So I've really enjoyed just playing and kind of trying to find ways to use my gel prints in like just different kind of ways that reflect maybe me and my aesthetic. So that's it. I hope if you enjoyed this, you'll please give me a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, just hit the subscribe and the little bell. You'll be notified when I do post a new video. And so I'm hoping to do like little tutorials. So if there's something in particular that you really like and you'd like to see in a tutorial format, let me know down in the comments, and that will kind of help me with maybe what order. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of maybe start with a gel print video, and then how I make the papers, and then working into actually making some things with them. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.